welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. Now, this would normally be the What Did We Watch This Month part of our month, but Scott had proposed an idea a few months ago that we really, really liked, and we decided we were going to go gung-ho towards it, which is just kind of like an end-of-the-year wrap-up of all of the horror films that came out this year. I know all of us have some crazy long lists. From the list that I'm seeing for myself, there's 23 movies on here that I saw that were horror films.
God,
it doesn't.
All came out in 2018.
All 2018. The full list of 2018 movies that I saw is 76 films. And I'm going
Thanks,
to
Movie Pass.
Yeah, and I'm going to go see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as soon as we're done recording. So,
Wow.
And I still have at least Mary Poppins. There's at least 5 more. So I'm probably going to break 80, maybe get to 85 before January.
And that's
1st.
just new movies. That's not necessarily the stuff for the show.
No.
Or stuff that you saw at Fantastic Fest. Or does that
consider... That's in there. I consider that 2018 releases.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I watch a lot of movies, bro. I've got Swamp Thing playing on in the background in my in the
original
studio right. Yeah, the original. I finally got my Blu-ray from Scream. So, Scott, you're the one that put this together. So I'm going to let you kind of guide it. If you mention a movie that I've seen, I'll hop in. If you mention a movie that I have not seen, I will sit quietly and patiently and let you tell us why it was good, bad, or indifferent.
Well, so I don't want to do it that way. I want us to just have it be organic. I don't want to be like, hey guys, because that's like every other episode. So I'm going to, like, 2019 goals, real talk here. I'm going to try and not be such a Mike hog. I just don't know. I don't know how.
It's part of your charm.
I guess if that's the word that you want to put for it. Okay, so let's just go with let's start with the most obvious one that I know that we have all seen because we talked about it. Hereditary.
Yes.
Which I loved when I saw it. I have yet to watch it again. And I have been going through some weird, like, mixed feelings about it. So I'll say this. It's my 4th favorite horror film of the year, and it's 17th on my films of the year. And I think a lot of it is not that I think it's a bad movie. Like, if I was doing the best made movies of the year, it'd be in my top 5. But as far as films that I want to revisit, films that will be favorites for a long time, I kind of, and I said this when we recorded the episode, it had a Requiem for a Dream thing for me where I just like, yeah, that was a really good movie. I never want to see this again. And that's kind of where it, like, keeps having, like, this, I think it keeps dropping in my mind because I'm actively trying to forget about the movie, which says how good it was at being disturbing. Like,
for sure. Yeah.
I see. For me, I do the videos on the top 5 videos on Instagram. And when I was putting together the Witch one and I had Hereditary as number 1, just watching, I just went on YouTube and found what clips I could find. And I'm just like, wow, this movie is so perfect. This movie is so, like, honestly, it's weird not to talk off of 2018, but I was like watching, I was like, this is the hardest list I made because in my mind, The Witch, Autopsy of Jane Doe, and Hereditary were just 3 perfect movies. Like, if I can give all 3 of them the rating, it would be 100%. Like, I absolutely loved Hereditary, and it's probably my number 1 for the year.
Now, you did mention Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yeah, bro.
But that's 2017.
Which was 2017.
Yeah.
There's a pseudo remake, I guess, that came out this year.
I heard that's terrible.
Oh, it is, of the 76 films I've seen this year,
70?
It is 74 on my list.
Wow. Wait,
The Possession of Hannah Grace is one of the worst films I have ever sat through in my entire fucking life.
So what's 76 and 77? Like Slender Man and...
Or 75 and 76 was Winchester and Slender Man. So horror rounded out the bottom there.
As it should. That's really,
and I think that really says why we love this genre, is you either have things that hit the highs of, like, a Hereditary or a Cam or a Quiet Place, or You Might Be the Killer, but then you've got the lows. You have the valleys that are like The Possession of Hannah Grace. And it's not like this is new. Like, people are like, oh, horror sucks. It's like, no, binge all of the films that came out in any given year of the 80s, and you're going to have some real hit home runs and some real shit shows.
Dude, that's any horror movie, any year ever.
Horror. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
horror is ever. I
exactly.
mean, like you truly can find. I don't think that there's like a year that had no bad horror. I bet that there are years that had no good horror,
Yeah.
even by our standards. But it's just
Let's be real. They weren't all Bride of Frankenstein in 1933.
fuck no way. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, like,
No,
there's some
trust me,
really
I
trash-
have those movies. Go
Yeah, the
to
Frank-
your local Walgreens or Walmart and buy 100 horror for $2, and it'll have everything from like 1931 to 1990, and just see.
Yeah.
I
there's-
challenge you.
Well, even like, because I love those Universal movies. So I bought like the Mummy collection and the Frankenstein collection. Like, none of those are perfect franchises. Like, there's always a point in one of those where it just hits a low and it never recovers.
So
Like,
here's a question: do you think that there is such thing as a perfect franchise?
yeah, it's Child's Play.
No.
No, well, like
Scream.
Scream.
No way!
That's Scream 3. It's tough to say. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there are arguments for and against a lot of films. You know what I mean? Like like Nightmare on Elm Street, I've said before, is not a perfect franchise,
Closest.
but I usually can find something I love in every single one of those movies, which is more than I can say about like Hellraiser. Where like Hellraiser,
yeah.
there's just like unwatchable entries, or The Howling. Like The Howling has
Oh, God.
unwatchable entries.
Yeah,
But Child's
we know.
Play, but then like Child's Play, I would argue, even the worst Child's Play movie has like some good, like a couple good lines or a good kill in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So here's a question: what is the most unwatchable franchise?
Oh, I think I just said the two key ones. It's either
Hellraiser?
or Howling.
Howling.
And
For me,
has
it's
to be-
Howling. But you're forgetting a very integral one: Puppet Master.
Yeah, Puppet
Because
Master
there's
is
so
super
much shit.
unwatchable for like
So
if you're
much.
an entire franchise. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
a
I-
good franchise.
Well, I was gonna say, then there's
Wishmaster.
franchises. I was gonna say, well,
They're all unwatchable. Like you can watch the first one for like the podcast or for a movie night, but like I'm talking at it's a Friday night.
yeah.
You got the
You
house.
put
to
on
yourself.
fucking.
You put on
yeah.
the Wishmaster, any Wishmaster.
Well,
And I
that's
don't
what I was
wanna
gonna say.
be
Like the Wishmaster franchise is definitely one of those franchises where it's like I would own those movies strictly for the podcast because I feel like any entry in the Wishmaster series would probably be a good episode of Horror Movie Night because they're all so bombastic. But I would actually say, I'm going to throw this out there. You're going to laugh at me. Basket Case. I think Basket Case 1 through 3, like, it keeps its tone consistently. It is exactly what you expect out of Basket Case movies. No more, no less. Does not overstay its welcome like Puppet Master with like 14 entries.
Oh yeah.
Like, it
But
had a
I
very
feel like Scott
concrete
kind
ending.
of set it up for it's like an impossible answer because
Yeah.
like Basket Case, all three are watchable, but to consider it a perfect
Oh, yeah, no, it's not perfect.
franchise-
Well, so I guess that's fine. I don't know if I really wanted an answer for like what's a perfect franchise as much as like what's the worst franchise. And I
Yeah.
guess that it's hard because Basket Case is only 3. Is a trilogy still a franchise? I don't know the answer to
Yeah,
that.
I guess that's tough to say. Yeah, I guess you have to a franchise. I guess would have to be 4 or more.
Then there's no answer because I was actually my rule for a perfect franchise. If I was going to have to, if it was like my college class, which would be an awesome college class, and like you have to find the perfect franchise. In my mind, I was already thinking anything with 4 or more off the list. Stick
Yeah.
to 3s, and maybe they could
okay.
keep it.
Well,
That's
so
just
I would-
that's just my end because I'm thinking like anything with like 7 movies. No, you're not hitting it out of the park 7 times.
I was gonna say you could also make an argument that most of the full moon films that have come out, like Ginger Dead Man and Evil Bong and Killjoy, like those are among the bottom of the barrel because they never even started off good. Like
Yeah.
they were just
Yeah.
trash and they kept making them. Like at least
Yeah.
Hellraiser and Howling has a couple decent entries in them. Like there is no.
But it makes
good
the lows
Evil
so
Bong
worse
movie.
though. That's
Yeah. Oh, the drop off is horrendous. Like the drop off from Hellraiser 3
it might be the
and
worst.
4 into like the rest of that franchise is just a plummet.
And it's
I know that we're gonna
so-
get so much shit for talking shit on that crime noir Hellraiser where it's like all a dream and
Yeah.
Kirsty's
Oh,
back,
what a
and
piece of shit that movie was.
that was a one and done for me. I think that's actually the only one and done. Well, no, well, there in high school I was definitely like, I'm gonna watch all the Hellraiser movies, and I did at the time. And I know there have been more that have come out since, but I'm not gonna take that L.
Also, I mean, I haven't seen the whole franchise, but from what I have seen, I'm assuming that Wrong Turn is not really
Oh my god,
breaking
fucking
any
Wrong
records.
Turn. So didn't somebody want us to watch another Wrong Turn recently?
I think they said 5. They're like, 5 is so much better than 6. I was like, yeah, I ain't gonna experiment.
Yeah, like that.
The only one worth watching is 2, and that is 110% because Joe Lynch wrote and directed it, and Joe Lynch has a pretty good track record.
Yeah. All right, so back to 2018. Yeah, so Hereditary is probably going to top every list on the internet for best horror, but here's my problem with it, and then we can move on, is I think it's a little too... Well, it's too heavy. You know, it's like, actually, and this is something that I was going to bring up a bit later when we were talking about Becca and Dave's movie, but Chris LaMartina, our buddy from WNUF Halloween Special and Girl of Cthulhu, and he's doing a new one called What Happens Next Will Shock You, as well as some other things. He has been doing these... he's doing crowdsourcing for the WNUF Halloween sequel. And so I think it's like every day. I don't see every single one of them, but every day he's writing a new mini memoir, entry. And one of them said something along the lines of, I think it was when Call Girl was, when they had finished it and they were trying to find someone to distribute it. People were like, it's a good movie, but, and at the time people wanted elevated horror. And that's not what Call Girl is. Like, we'll get there soon enough. Like 2019, I want to do Call Girl, and have Chris back on. But in any case, I've been thinking a lot about that as I was going through. So the impetus for this discussion was, I was thinking about, okay, what's our December? What did we watch? And I was like, we should do a roundup, but I don't want to do a traditional roundup where we do a top 10 list, because it's going to be the same shit that every podcast like us will do. It'll be like Hereditary, Quiet Place, Halloween remake, it's just gonna be boring, but so I went and did research on what came out that I had missed, and I caught up on some things that I knew about, some things that I didn't know came out this year, some things that have a 2017 date in IMDb but a 2018 date on Rotten Tomatoes or on lists, so whatever. But I like the idea that horror doesn't have to be elevated. Like Hereditary is a very elevated horror. It's a drama. It's a drama with supernatural elements. Like it's, and you guys know how I feel about dramas. Yeah. It's a phenomenal film. It's an actor's film, Whereas,
absolutely.
And I forget I was listening to some podcast. It may have been Shockwaves. It may have been something else, but they were saying, like, even if you hated this movie,
you can't talk shit on it.
There are undeniable factors in it. Like Toni Collette's performance is an undeniable factor. Like that, the middle portion of the movie is an undeniable factor. Like there are moments that are going to be infamous forever.
And I can't say that I don't. I was moved by that film. Like it's a horrifying, harrowing experience to watch, and I probably won't ever revisit it. And I defended it on our group, and I've defended it on the internet and in person to people that didn't like the third act. Like I'm not ever going to say anything negative about it. It's a praise when I say it is too hard to watch.
Yeah. And that's why I think for me, like I actually put A Quiet Place above it because
there's more watchability. Yeah,
there's more watchability, and it isn't as emotionally damaging. Like there are some heavy moments in A Quiet Place, but like A Quiet Place at least feels more
fun?
Genuine. It feels more fun. It feels more genuine. It feels more, in a fucked up way, more relatable. It's like
because
you're looking at the worst case scenario of the worst case family situation, whereas like at least A Quiet Place, it's like, okay, even if you replace the monsters, just any idea of like society hitting a point where it's crumbled, like the family dynamic of that was very real.
Yeah, no, and I can't say so that's a great segue into A Quiet Place, and I can't say anything negative about it either. I mean, it felt very Signs to me, and
Yeah.
I didn't love that, but I mean, it's I don't know if I am the target audience for A Quiet Place. Like I have nothing but nice things to say about the movie, but I don't know if I'd rewatch it. You know?
So
Yeah.
I don't want to rewatch A Quiet Place, and it's not because I didn't love it. I absolutely adored A Quiet Place, but like Hereditary, it's got that vibe where I feel like no matter where I'm watching, what situation, I'm gonna love it. And A Quiet Place, it's like almost like, all right, I saw this in the perfect setting. I
Yeah,
saw it with a
same.
solid crowd
Yeah.
in a movie theater with surround sound. Like I don't know if I saw this movie 2 years after it came out on Amazon Prime, if I would appreciate it as much.
You're
as I
absolutely
did.
right. I think that
Yeah.
it's very much an event horror.
Yes.
Well, and I think that's one of the pluses that horror has taken in the last couple of years is that they are making films almost despite streaming. Like movies like Overlord and Annihilation, while they weren't to me perfect movies, they were movies that definitely worked better if you were seeing it in a theater than if you were like watching it on a computer screen or watching it
Yeah.
at home. You know what I mean?
Horror's
Like,
doing what Disney's been doing. Disney intentionally makes movies that, like Doctor Strange, no one's going to enjoy Doctor Strange in their home on 36-inch TV.
I was gonna say, but I get
I'm
what
sorry.
you mean. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, like Marvel definitely builds these movies where there is an added experience to seeing it in this huge presentation where you just feel like you're looking at a painting
Yes.
that's moving. Like,
Yes.
So, okay, so we knocked those two guys out. Obviously, those are the big ones that everybody's going
they're
to
the
talk
heavy
about.
hitters. Yeah.
Well, and while we're at the heavy hitters, let's do Halloween 2018. We did in-depth spoilery discussions about all three of these this year. This is just like now that we've had a little bit of time to let it marinate. What do you got? Do you have the same feeling or that we talked about on the episode, or do you feel different at all?
I feel a little different. I feel like I love the Halloween franchise, and I don't think that the new one was bad. And I think it was really good. But I think that I love the Halloween franchise so much, and I was so excited that there was one coming out right around Halloween, and I was so excited that it was a comedian's taking a swing at it. That I think that I liked it. I left that movie feeling how I want it to feel, more than how I think I genuinely would have felt if I would have just tried to go in on a more open mind, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, like I went thinking like this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And it was good. I really liked it, and I would absolutely watch it again, but I definitely think if I redid my list for best Halloweens, it wouldn't be as high as I put it when we did the Halloween draft.
I think that it's going to definitely be a Halloween movie that I rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more than I can say about a lot of the Halloween sequels.
I'll definitely rewatch it 2019 and see how I feel.
Yeah.
You know, I agree with you.
And I still stand by what I said in our episode. Do I think that it is a perfect Halloween movie or even a perfect slasher movie? No. But there was something to be said about seeing a genuine slasher movie on the big screen for the first time in God knows how long. That was like, it was going to get me through that movie, even if it was the shittiest film that had ever been made. Because I was just so hype on seeing not a meta horror, not like it was a genuine slasher movie, like what I always wanted to see. But I grew up in the age of like meta wink wink post Scream.
Yeah, so
like,
here's a question really for you. I like that. I really want to ask both you guys this question then. So have you guys ever seen a legit slasher film in theaters besides that?
So like, does that count movies that we had already seen before, like as a retro screening?
No, I'm talking opening, first time watch on a big screen. I've seen, I saw Scream 2, I think, in theaters. I can't remember, but that doesn't count. You know, even
Scream
if I would have
4
seen Scream, it would have
Scream
been.
4 was the only one I've seen on the big screen.
But still, it's meta,
Yeah,
and
it's
I think
meta.
that that's a very important distinction. Is that there's like there's definitely there's meta-ness in Halloween 2018, but I don't think that it's like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, as much as homages and references to the actual franchise.
And it's references. With the exception of a couple ones that are really on the nose, it's a lot of stuff that if you're like already captured in the magic of the movie, you could totally miss. Like there were so
I know
many
I did. Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, hey, like these are like little hidden things for the fans, but they went right over my head with a few exceptions, versus like, you know, you can walk a very dangerous line sometimes with a movie where it's just like, oh yeah, no, like that Camp Crystal Lake around the corner. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, I get it. Or like everybody having the last name like Loomis
Voorhees.
and Carpenter and Voorhees. It's like,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. You know, I know we might look stupid and sound stupid sometimes, but we're not fucking stupid. We get it.
Yeah.
So,
We get it, you vape.
how many times did we say that when we hung out with your brother for the live stream? All right. So, since we're talking about slashers and then we brought up meta slashers, You Might Be the Killer.
My number one horror film of the year. Number 5 of all of 2018 for me.
Yeah, it's up there for me too. Brian?
Watched it last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, really liked it. It was super charming. Really, I really enjoyed it. I don't think it'd be my number one, but I loved it, and I kind of love the fact that Jade was super tired and went upstairs because I don't know how.
Guys' night.
You know what I mean? Because it's almost not even like I'm like almost hesitant to even consider it like a meta horror more than just a straight comedy. You know, like it was more like just a fun comedy to me that had
it's very
killing in it.
self-aware. It's very funny. Like, and I watched it twice now. So I saw it at Fantastic Fest and was like, this is the film of Fantastic Fest. Walked away from it with all that praise. And like, obviously there's a little bit of bias. I've lucked out in the sense that Brett and I did an interview at Fantastic Fest, hit it off as friends, and he's been on the show and he's just a really good dude, and him and I stay in touch. But watching it with a group of friends the night that it premiered on Shudder and hearing them laugh at all the right parts as well, I was like, okay, so this isn't just me. Like, this is a movie that will hit most audiences that watch it because it has that fun. Now, if you're a horror fan, you catch the extra references and things that Alison Hannigan is saying, but otherwise, it's just so funny. It's so quick. It's so fast. It's only really comparable to 2 movies, I think, which is Cabin in the Woods and Behind the Mask, as far as like films that really knew how to make a straight comedy that was only going to be truly appreciated by horror fans. And like, that's what this is.
And Fear Inc. I'd put Fear Inc. in there too.
Okay. I've never seen Fear.
Never seen it. But...
So I can't believe you never saw it, Matt. It's starring the dude from Raising Hope.
I think every time I see the name, I think that it's fear.com from like...
That's actually, I thought that's what you were talking about. Sorry. No, I've never seen either of those. Hey, Brian, I guess you know what to pick for us to watch sometime soon.
Seriously.
Honestly, Fear Inc. is almost too good.
Too good for us? What's that supposed to mean? You think you're too good for me because you got a tiny job?
And I've said this... I said this in our chats, but like... The runaway character of 2018 for me is Steve the Kayak King.
Dude, he was so for two lines in that movie made me absolutely adore it, and it was both Steve. Of course, it was the Kayak King. He's like, it's a canoe, but no big deal,
because that's you.
Yeah, and then just how he's such a good actor for someone that's not an actor. When he's like, and don't worry about gators. We sent a scuba diver in there about a week ago. And he still hasn't returned, so he's doing a thorough search. If you find him, let us know. People are worried.
The other line I like is, it's real quick, but it's jumping back and forth in that flashback. And he goes with the kids. He's like, and you are sitting in again? And they're like, canoes. And he's like, good, I'm glad you guys know that.
Oh, he fell in the water. Now let's all point and laugh.
Well, it's just like every time. It doesn't even matter when he's strung up with his guts hanging out. They're like, "Oh God, Steve," and he's just like, "The kayaking." Like it got to the point that like my friends, while they were watching the movie, every time that someone said Steve, they were like ready to be like, "The kayaking." Like it's so good. Oh God, Brett, seriously, you made an amazing movie.
So
Hearing Becca and Ryan talk about that movie on Shockwaves this week, like made my life. I was like, oh man, he's made it.
Well,
Yeah,
it's just going to pick up steam in 2019.
Oh, it's going to be huge.
Because it's definitely one of my favorite movies of the year. It's just not horror enough to be in my top, like, for horror.
So,
but it was so good.
Speaking of that,
I know which one you're going to bring up, and I wanted to talk about it next as well.
Well, I don't know about that. You might be wrong. So, Brian, there's a movie that I know both of us saw, and I've been very hesitant to decide if it should be on the horror list or not.
Searching,
but no, I opted no for Searching. I was like, that is a thriller. I rewatched it this week. It's definitely a thriller. But I was thinking Thoroughbred.
Oh, see,
that's a horror, right?
I wouldn't put it. I would actually. I have it on my list, but now that you said it, I think I would take Searching. I think the stretches I put on there were Searching, Thoroughbreds, and Annihilation.
Yeah, I mean, Annihilation, I would still say has
Annihilation is Lovecraftian horror.
Yeah. But yeah,
okay,
Thoroughbreds is like a weird one, like because that's number 7 on my of the whole year. Like I loved Thoroughbreds, but I couldn't decide if it was actually a horror movie or not.
No, because there's not even like unsettling scene. I mean, maybe a few that are but there's not. I wouldn't consider it. I would just consider it a great movie.
Yeah, it's just a good. Okay, what did you think I was going to bring up, Scott? Because we'll go there. Cam. Okay, that's the
Cam
next one
is
on my list.
One of my faves, but it is very, very barely horror. It's a thriller, but I still. I mean, like it's. I mean, I loved it. You've interviewed the director twice. It's it's one of those things where it's hard not to mention it here because I enjoyed it like a horror movie.
My one friend actually just recently reviewed it on his Instagram page, and I kind of liked what he gave it a B on his rating, which I think is fair. I don't think that it's an A+ movie, but it's a very good movie. And he said it's a movie that is great despite its faults. And I was like, that I think is accurate because there is a lot of Brian brought up a lot of like, I just don't. I want it more. I want it to know what this was, and I think that because it's so stylistic and it's so different that it pushes forward despite the fact that there are questions and like things that maybe didn't totally work. It as a whole is just so unlike anything that you've seen, and I think that really is what, if anything, it's the most original film of this year for me.
Yeah. I would definitely have to agree that that's the thing, is that it's very well made. I mean, and Madeline Brewer is just the shit, like she's just fantastic, great.
And she plays like 3 characters in theory.
Yeah. And it feels very seamless. And, I loved that movie. I also really love that it's about sex work, but it is very unsexy.
Yeah.
Like Madeline Brewer is beautiful, but I was never aroused that whole movie because it was about the character and it's real and it's not like she's not sexualized, and it has a lot to do with the fact that Issa did camming for, maybe she still does, I don't know, but she was a cam girl for years, and so I feel like if the writer understands how unsexy sex work is and can be, then that's what you need to convey it to the audience. But I loved Cam.
So I want to dip into, speaking of like, because I was saying Cam is probably the most original film of the year. The only other film that I think is equally just unapologetically unlike anything I'd seen, and I didn't love it as much as I think Scott did, was Upgrade. Which I really enjoyed.
Well, and we discussed, I loved Upgrade. I would put that at number 4 for me for like horror, but it's sci-fi horror, but it's gory enough that it still feels like it's, it can be on the list. So
I wanted to live in the middle of that movie forever. Like the middle of that movie is amazing to me.
Here's the thing is that, well, before you say anything, Brian, Matt, 2 things. 1, sorry. two things. The first thing is that we discussed this offline or online, but we didn't discuss it on the air. You didn't read Cyberpunk. I did. No. That's why the ending is not your speed, but we'll get there when we talk about it. But yeah, Brian, go ahead.
I was actually shocked when that movie was over and I never read whatever comic you said.
Cyberpunk. It's a style of sci-fi that's it's like near future, but there's a lot of like upgraded humans, like augmented humans, and technology is integrated into life, and it's kind of dystopian, things like that. Like it's a very specific subgenre of sci-fi that was super popular in the 80s into the early 90s. Like the most famous one is probably Neuromancer by William Gibson. The second most famous, which is probably my favorite of the genre, is called Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. Very, very good books. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just shocked because I finished the movie and I watched it with Jade and my dad, and they were both like, it was okay. And I was like, that was the most fun that I've had for an hour and a half in a very long time. I just watched it in my living room and I was like, this movie is awesome. It was just so much fun from begin to end. And I don't understand why anyone doesn't like it, which if we're done talking about it, I have a segue into another film, which I understand why a lot of people don't like it. And this will definitely be like the Brian Kelly pick of the year that everyone hates, but I love.
I know what you're going to say, and I wanted to bring it up too.
Fucking Slice, man. I love Slice.
I did not love it. It felt like it was trying to do 10 things and it only accomplished 2.
It was so fun to me. Jade despised it. It's kind of like, I would definitely put it same as You Might Be the Killer. It's definitely a comedy way more than it's a horror.
But the thing is that it's okay. Horror comedy is definitely a thing. There's nothing wrong with that.
But I get why, like, it's never something that I would never go on a show to debate this movie. You know what I mean? Like I would never fight for this movie. I get why I love it and I get why people hate it. And I'll just leave it at that, you know?
So I didn't hate it. I just thought that it was disappointing because you hyped it up.
Yeah.
How dare you, Brian?
No. I'm not blaming him for anything.
I'm kidding. You son of a bitch.
You don't talk about your mom like that.
Hey.
So
well, I've got a segue from that. If
okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Talking about movies that I thought were very good horror films that I'm hearing no one really talk about this year, or at least not as much as I think they should. One is still a very small indie film that only really got a VOD release, and I interviewed the star of the movie on this podcast, was Killer Kate, which I thought was way more fun than it had any right to be. It's not going to be anyone's favorite film of the year, but I had a blast watching it, which was extra shocking since I watched it like laying in bed on a laptop. Usually I can never focus and enjoy movies that way, but I had a lot of fun with being kind of a comedic inversion on the I just blanked on the term, home invasion movies. Basically the idea...
that's right. I remember the interview and I remember being like, it's a home invasion movie. And I immediately wrote it off as not wanting to watch it. Sorry.
Yeah. So the concept of Killer Kate is basically like, think of the character of Kate, think of like the most timid, kind, like pushover character. And it's basically, she's at her sister's bachelorette party and out of nowhere, these people are trying to break into the house and kill all of them. And all of a sudden, she just out of nowhere realizes she has like a crazy killer instinct and is really good at like killing people and basically defends all of the girls by herself.
Okay, you actually just sold me on it, so I gotta watch it now.
But like the twists and turns, it's very funny. There's one character who's like hyper reluctant to do the home invasion, so he agrees to be the getaway car. And there'll just be points where like all of these people are getting murdered. He has no clue. And it'll just cut to him inside the car. And he's like, I could just leave. I don't want to be a part of this. I could just go home. So like that movie is really funny and charming if you get a chance to see it. And then this one I know Scott will hate. And this stressed me the fuck out. I think I talked Brian into seeing it. But Unsane was...
I'm not watching Unsane.
Yeah, It is heavy, dude. Movies where you know that someone is telling the truth and no one else believes them stresses me out so bad, and that's just insane for 80 straight minutes.
So every horror movie ever made.
Well, no, because like weirdly enough, Truth or Dare, like the group of friends in Truth or Dare buy into like what's going on so quickly. But
Well, we don't
movie's
need to talk about how. Yeah, that movie is not. I didn't even watch it. I'm taking
And
your word for how bad it
actually
was.
Slightly better than Truth or Dare. Still not amazing, but has good parts. Also, The Strangers Pray at Night. Characters really bought into what was going really quickly, instead of it being like, "Oh, please, I'm telling you, this is real."
I do dig that though, because it feels more realistic than people being like, I don't believe what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like if you were trying to live through a horror movie, you accept shit at face value and you run. You just
exactly.
go.
So I've only got a handful left that we haven't brought
How?
up.
I
so-
have so many.
I know, because I had 23 movies total, and anytime that we've brought, there's a few that I'm like, I got nothing to say. I watched it. It was a thing. Like Piercing, Between Worlds, Into the Dark, Flesh and Blood. Like those are all like fine movies. I have no real opinion on them.
And I actually kept all those off because it's technically a TV show.
Yeah,
Although
Into the
Kurt
Dark.
Oh
Russell
yeah,
Crowe
no TV shows.
Well,
I
Or
Into
else
meant-
the
we'd be
Dark, I
talking
felt
about
was-
Sabrina and
Well, Into
Well-
the Dark was weird because it's only one
I know,
episode a
it's-
month, and it's a movie.
it's an out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they don't tie in any way. Which, by the way, I was very underwhelmed with the December one.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I don't need to make it, but I still need to see the October one.
watch the October one. Watch the December one. You might like it. But let's see what I have left. I have 9 left that we didn't discuss.
So
Jesus.
I know
There's a big one that we all need to talk about.
We'll get there, dude. I know exactly which. I have an idea which one it is. But I want to go back to how the one that I thought you were going to talk about when you said the one that was the weirdest. When you said Upgrade, I thought you were going to talk about Are We Not Cats, which is barely a horror movie, but it's
I've
got
never
body
even
horror.
heard of it.
Yeah, I never
It
heard
is
of it either.
ultra indie movie, and I'm not going to give away anything. I'm going to say it was definitely worth the watch.
But
It's
are they
short.
cats, Scott?
It's not.
He
it's
said he's not going to give away anything.
It is a love story.
Okay.
It is a gross as fuck love story. It's like a gross Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. There's no like brain washing or anything like that involved, but the characters feel like lost souls that find each other because they're so lost, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
It's very gross. Don't eat before or during your watch, and you probably will want to give yourself like an hour afterwards, and then maybe you'll be hungry. But I also don't want to be hyping it up as this ultra. It's not street trash gross. It's just up close kind of gross. You know,
All right, that makes sense.
The whole point is that it's trichiliomania, where it's like picking hair. You know, people that OCD thing where people will pick their hair. So it's just that grosses me out. Remember when we talked Destroyer, I was like, the grossest thing I've seen on horror movie night is
dude eating hair.
Yeah. So that's what's gross about Are We Not Cats? And that's why it's called Are We Not Cats, because cats eat hair. But anyway, it's a really good movie. It's not necessarily horror. It's horror-ish. It's like a genre film, but a love story. And it's super weird. I then want to talk about another not quite horror, more of a fantasy, but it's horror enough. Cold Skin. Did you guys hear about Cold Skin?
No. You went for some. You always go for some real deep cuts, even with like your Christmas
This isn't a deep cut, dude.
tournament. It's like...
So Cold Skin is a fantasy movie. They had a big as fuck budget. There's explosions out the ass. And there's like, it's about killer mermen.
Oh,
And it's a
shit.
period piece. So it's early 1900s on this island. And there's a lighthouse, and every night it gets attacked by these mermen. It was not what I wanted it to be. So I don't have a whole lot to talk about with that, but you guys might like it just for the sheer ride of it. But for me, there were some, it's like there are 3 main characters. That's it. And then there are the mermen that are monsters. But it is kind of like a little too predictable with the horrors of the human spirit kind of thing, you know? So take that for what you will. And then along those lines, another movie that you probably didn't watch that had a massive budget is Tumbad, which Katie was talking about. It's an Indian horror flick about, it's like a multi-generational horror folk tale kind of allegory for greed. And I really appreciated it for what it was. I hated the CGI. That's all I have to say about it. It's probably worth the watch. I think I spent $3 to watch, $3 or $4 to watch it on Amazon Prime. So watch it with the big screen if you get a chance, because it's a visually stunning movie, except for the CGI monster, which they could have done practical and it would have looked, or they could have done it practical half the time and it would have been fine. So there's that. But as far as I want to talk about two witch movies. Do I have one? Yeah, let's just say 2 witch movies. Okay. Oh shit.
Right.
3 witch movies, really? Well, no, 2 witch movies. Because obviously, you know, there's Hereditary. And then we have Dead Night, which was actually released in 2017 under a different name in festivals and didn't get a wide release. They recut it and added a bunch of extra shit that I don't really know what they added, and renamed it Dead Night, which is a terrible name for a film. So forgettable. It is a popcorn horror movie that is trying to be elevated. It's starring Barbie Crampton, so you know I'm on board. And it's got witches. So I won't watch it again, but I wanted to mention it here to give it a signal boost because it's a fun time in like an Evil Dead ripoff kind of way. Not in a Evil Dead ripoff sort of way that Demon Wind is fun. It's definitely playing it a lot. Well, let's say Demon Wind is playing it straight too, but like this movie
gonna say, let's say Demon Wind is fun.
We don't have to say that. I've already said it many times. But yeah, Dead Night, it's worth the hour and 20 minutes. It's not long at all.
Okay.
But it's got, you know, killer witches, and you know that does it for me. So the other witch movie I wanted to talk about is a Netflix film, Apostle. Did you guys watch it?
No, I've been wanting to watch it. I have to watch it alone.
So many mixed things on that one.
It is a very, very polarizing film for what you want out of it. Now, first of all, it's slow. It is a 2-hour movie, and it feels every bit of 2 hours long. It's not like a Marvel movie that's like, you know, 2.5 hours, 2:45, and you're like, wow, it's over? Wow, so much shit happened, and it was a blast. Apostle really could be shorter. But here's the reason I like it. 1, witches. 2, 2, it's a period piece. 3, it's got some great actors in it, a bunch of people that I recognized. The main character, I know him from the TV show Legion, but he was also on Downton Abbey. That's what Megan knows him from. She didn't watch it with me, but it's good. Like to me, it feels like it could be in the same universe as Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. It's not nearly as lighthearted, but It's got a visual aesthetic that is kind of like a more realistic, toned down 2018 Sleepy Hollow.
I do want to watch it. Yeah,
I highly recommend everyone watch it. I put it in my top 5, you know, of horror for the year. Definitely. I mean, it's not my favorite, and it's definitely not above, you know, You Might Be the Killer, but I liked it. So you guys didn't see it. You don't have an opinion, but I'm pretty sure all three of us have seen this next one, Summer of '84.
Yes,
I actually still haven't seen Summer of '84.
What?
Oh,
I thought you did.
No, I know all about it because everyone's told me the ending. But at this point,
oh fucking shit! Well, it's still. Here's the thing about the ending is that I think that it's not a disservice to the film to know, because it's kind of telegraphed there. It's not about that. It's about the ride, and I'm okay with that. There's space in the world for all sorts of horror, including movies that are predictable.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I
you
do
will.
want to get around to it. Usually the winter break that I'm about to go on is like everyone that I know is working except for me, so I just start binging like whatever I've been putting off. So that's when I finally get caught up on like TV shows and movies and shit like that. So it's definitely
Sure.
gonna be watched. By the time this episode's released, it will
You'll
have
probably
been
have
watched.
seen it. Yeah. All right. So, and Brian, you liked Summer of '84, right?
Oh, I loved it.
Okay. Would you put it in your top 5 or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't put it in my top 5, but I'm not a serial killer guy. I just liked the pacing. I liked the actors. I mean, I loved the kids. They were really good. They were, almost as good as the kids in It. It's a different. It's a similar nostalgia factor, but it's not in the same universe at all.
It's Stranger Things with a serial killer.
Yeah, and that's what you said when you brought it up on the show, I think. But yeah, I liked it. Did any of you guys watch The Endless?
Mm-mm.
No, I remember you were like, you wanted to see that because you enjoyed their previous movies. Well, previous movie, Spring.
Yeah, well, it's the end of it's an actual trilogy. Well, it's an in-universe trilogy, not necessarily a linear trilogy, but they all interrelate in some ways. Although Spring is the least, it's a bit more tangential. Resolution and The Endless are bookends. So Resolution, I don't love. It's two guys in a room that are tormented and by an unseen force, and it's just, I appreciate them for making the film and doing it their way. It's not something I want to rewatch. Spring is probably one of my favorite romantic films I've seen in the last 5 years. It is so good. It's also one of the most creative monster movies I've ever, or not ever, but probably one of the most creative monster movies of my adult life. It's a very, very cool monster because it's not a predictable monster at all, and it's very well prepared, presented, and such. Plus, it's very romantic. So, The Endless is good. It's engaging, but I felt that the end was not what I wanted. But they're doing it the way they want to do it, so I have nothing negative to say about that. So that's The Endless. I would suggest, if you've seen the first two, to watch The Endless. If you haven't, watch all three when you have the time. In order, watch Resolution, Spring, and then The Endless. And there's that. So another movie that is super indie that I don't know if anybody but me saw, but Matt, you talked to the director of The Ranger. Right?
I bumped into her and spoke to her briefly, but yeah, we never even got to put anything on.
Right. Did you see The Ranger though?
I still haven't. I know that it just got on Shudder not too long ago, so that'll probably be another one of those during winter break, finally get around to seeing it movies.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know if I would watch it again. Just, it's got aesthetic, it's cool, and it's doing its thing. It's like, it's a creative vision, and I appreciate that. So then I've got 4 more.
I got 8, but I'm just gonna knock out 3 vanilla movies that.
Okay, go right ahead. Yeah.
First Purge, Insidious: Last Key, and The Open House. Didn't mind them when I was watching them. My life would be just perfectly fine if I never
hadn't watched it. Yeah.
I want to mention 2 big ones that came out this year. That
one of which I have not gotten to see yet.
Well, I think both of them you didn't get to see, actually. But I think that they're good. I saw them both at Fantastic Fest, and they both kind of left me feeling like I want to watch it again, but I wasn't in love with it the way that a lot of people were when they left the theaters. And that was the new Suspiria and Overlord. I both thought were very fun movies that I would definitely watch again. But like, when I was leaving the theater at Fantastic Fest for both those movies, it was people around me just being like, holy shit, was that not like the greatest experience ever? I was like, that's all right.
For Overlord?
Oh, people love, like, I think it was because, here's the thing with, or no, Overlord was the scheduled one. It was Suspiria that was the surprise. Overlord is very well made. Like, I will say that it is a very well made movie. It's a very fun movie. I had what I wanted the movie to be in my brain, and it didn't achieve what I wanted it to be. So I was very like let down by it, which is why I want to watch it again without my expectations and see if I enjoy it as much as everyone leaving the theater seemed to enjoy it, because it's gory as all hell. It's funny at good parts, and it's brutal. Like, the violence in it is fucking brutal. But it was just like, oh great, it's just another fucking zombie Nazi movie.
See, and that's the thing, is that if that's what I wanted it to be, was I wanted it to be some sort of supernatural thing that was doing body horror on the Nazi soldiers.
So it is and it isn't, because like it is Nazis, like Nazi zombies are the backbone to it. But what where the movie gets fun and crazy, and what I wanted it to be, is in the final act, where you've got living people who decide to inject themselves with the zombie serum while they're still alive, and it creates like weird mutations inside of them.
That's what you wanted to see, and they didn't do that?
No, they did do that, but I wanted more of it. Like, it's like the last like 15 minutes, suddenly you've got like this amazing like super shredder type sequence, but like the rest of it's just like a general, like you're watching Wolfenstein. You know what I mean? Like, you're just watching people storming a castle filled with zombies that are in Nazi garb. So
yeah, what I wanted was monsters in Nazi garb.
Yeah.
You know, like I want another Frankenstein's army. I want the beginning of fucking Hellboy. I want a whole movie of that.
And there's part of me that still thinks that you would like Overlord is a movie that people will like. I don't know how many people who will love it. And then just one more to throw out there, two more, because they also had pretty major releases, and I was like, they were fun. More fun than I think most people gave them credit for. Was I thought the Predator movie was really, really fun.
Oh yeah.
And I thought the Meg, like, it's what you want out of a movie where Jason Statham fights a giant shark.
You really want.
No. If you are a person who's seeing a movie about a giant shark with Jason Statham, it is going to succeed in everything that you want it to, because it's very tongue-in-cheek and fun. It's very it should have been R. The director has even said that it should have been R, but it is on par with like Piranha 3D, in that we know what we're making and we're just here to have a good time. So like, I'm okay with it.
How was that? I wanted to see Suspiria real bad. I didn't get it. I just could not get a hold of a copy, and I wasn't about to make Megan sit through 2 hours and 15 minutes of discomfort for me.
Yeah. It's an interesting one.
Did you watch Revenge?
No. Is it good?
I did not watch it. I don't want to watch a rape revenge movie. I understand that it was, I mean, I've seen I Spit on Your Grave. I've seen I Spit on Your Grave 2009, whatever it was. I've seen Last House on the Left, the original. That's about as much as I need to see of rape revenge, you know? It's supposed to be a more feminist perspective, but I've also heard it get shredded the fuck out online for being like fake feminist, and you still get that male gaze of the woman getting abused, and I really don't need that in my life.
Because here's the thing, it's the same thing with like offensive humor to me, and that's why I really don't care for it. It's like when people may say like really offensive jokes to get a laugh. It's like, if you want to do a rape revenge movie, that's fine. Just allude to the fact that they've been raped. You're not a fucking skilled director if you can make an entire audience uncomfortable with a 15-minute rape scene.
Yeah.
You know, it's not for me. I'm all about the rape revenge movies for the revenge part. So give me that. Give me the revenge and call it a day. But I don't think I'll see it unless someone can confirm, like, oh yeah, it's like a 30-second rape scene.
Yeah, I don't know. It's on Shudder, and you can probably give it a look if you want. But anyway, so that's fine. But did all of us watch Puppet Master Lilith Reich?
No, that was just you and Brian again.
Dude, what is your problem? These are like, they're not even
your
like
bread and butter, my friend.
Yeah, and it's not even like, oh, okay, Matt didn't see like The Apostle, whatever. These are Matt Kelly movies.
Oh, I'm aware. I interviewed one of the stars of the movie.
Yeah.
But they didn't send me a review copy, so I was like, oh shit. So like, I had to do the interview without the review copy.
Oh man, I loved Puppet Master.
I enjoyed it a lot. I thought that it was just goofy and fun. You know, it felt like it could have gone about 2 or 3 steps further, and you know, crank it up a little bit more. It felt a little safe. I mean, like, the kills were fucking great, but I felt like the story was just a little safe. You know, that's all.
My only thing is there are some characters that I would have liked to be in it that weren't in it.
You mean like puppets?
Puppets, yes. It was
What-
definitely lacking on
which-
some puppets.
Which puppets?
Leech Girl, Six
Yeah.
Shooter.
Woman, show her respect.
Yeah, she blossomed into a beautiful leech woman. I apologize.
She's a strong leech woman who don't need no man.
I fucking love Six Shooter, man.
So here's the one that I was super happy about, and I wasn't even worried about that though. You know, like because I was so happy with the rest. I loved that. I loved the look of Torch.
Mm-hmm.
I also loved the part with the baby Hitler that they tossed in an oven, which is so just like that's the speed at which I wanted this movie to go. And I loved the helicopter one who chopped the dude's dick, or no, he chopped his throat.
Yeah.
He sliced his throat and he bled into the toilet. I really liked the look of that. I don't know. I think that it's a solid Puppet Master. It's the first solid Puppet Master I've seen since I don't know when. I mean, there hasn't been a good Puppet
Part
Master.
3.
I mean, they were just
4.
They were just smart. They were like, they kind of did what they should have done a long time ago, where it's like, these movies are fucking stupid, so let's give them some gore. Like, let's make them super fucking gory. And I think this is probably the most gory. Now, keep in mind, you guys may disprove me because I haven't seen all of them.
No,
Like,
they've
I've
always
heard-
been
yeah.
tame.
Okay.
They've always been tame.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no-
and that's fine. It's just part of what it is what it is.
but yeah, it got super, super gory.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. It was fun. And I'm so surprised that Matt didn't watch it. But
I
so
know.
so I'm saving so I have 2 that I want to talk about back to back because they're both Christmas horror.
Oh.
Okay.
Uh
I still
so
haven't
then-
seen. I was at a party that I kind of wish I wasn't at. Otherwise, I would have watched all the Creatures
Creatures
of
of
Stirring
Stirring.
last night. How is
Brian,
it?
Didn't see
Brian,
it.
did you watch it yet?
No, didn't see it.
I liked it.
Good.
I've heard a lot of I've heard people say that it's mediocre.
Oh,
and I'm
Bloody
like-
Disgusting trashed it up and down
Really?
the board. Yeah.
I don't think that it was trying to be anything than what it really was. And I'm not a fan of anthologies, but one, I thought that the wraparound was fun. I thought that it was fun. Like even my least favorite of the vignettes, which is it's so funny to watch it after we just had our conversation with Becca and Dave, where they were talking about one, how they met. They met doing plays, and the wraparound is a fucking play. And it's so much, it's just so funny to have that background information about Dave and Becca's relationship and watch the film and see how much of their personalities and their relationship is there. And it's a very fun and funny and very light film. Like my least favorite was, you know how they're talking about the escape room idea, or not
Yeah.
like the escape room, but like 5 people stuck in a room in search of an exit. There's a scene or there's a skit or a section of the anthology that is that, and they have one. The alien one is my favorite. So when you guys watch it, and anybody that's seen it or does see it, that's not giving anything away, but the alien segment is so funny. It is so funny to me. It's my favorite of the segments. I'm not an anthology guy, but I would definitely watch it again next Christmas.
Cool.
Yeah,
I really liked it. And I don't think that it was trying to be anything that I don't think that it was trying to elevate anything. I don't think that it was trying to be too funny. I don't think it was trying to be too gory. I think it was just fun. If you look at it like that, not like God's gift to fucking Christmas horror, then you're fine. Bloody Disgusting
like,
gets up
let's
their
be
asses
real.
sometimes.
Yeah. Let's be real. Christmas horror does not exactly have a perfect track record.
I never
No,
it's
realized
so
that
nice.
until Scott put together this whole fucking.
How bad most of it is.
Yeah.
Honestly, there are two that you need to watch every year: Black Christmas and Gremlins. Everything else is really make or break. Take it or
I
leave
think
it.
you forgot to mention
Silent
Silent Night,
Night-
Deadly Night Part 5.
Oh no!
Silent
Which
Night, Deadly Night 4, whatever that was up against, I didn't even see the movie, but I voted for it. because
Why?
it wasn't-
4
because
is
it
so
wasn't-
good.
No, it isn't. No, it is not.
I had a really fun geek out yesterday with Chris from WNUF about how much we both think Toy Maker is the best of all of the Silent Night Deadly Nights.
No. I'm not saying that Initiation's better.
Oh,
I'm just
that-
saying there's no incest in it.
Yeah.
it's a puppet. So there's only one more that I have on my list that's just, I'm staring at it and I'm like, how have we not talked about it?
There's a reason why we haven't talked about it.
Because this was the year of the Cage, my man.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Well, okay, so there are two then.
There's two. I only saw one of them still.
I saw the only important part of the one. Cheddar Goblin, did you eat all the mac and cheese? Yeah, so Mandy, I didn't like Beyond the Black Rainbow, so I had no intention of watching Mandy. Because it's the same director. It's not about I'm not about psychedelia. Like it's just I'm also not about revenge flicks, obviously. So I didn't watch Mandy. Brian was underwhelmed, right?
I wasn't underwhelmed. I enjoyed it. I was underwhelmed. I don't know what to say. I was underwhelmed. I enjoyed Mandy.
Mom and Dad.
So Mandy was like, let's just get bonkers Nicolas Cage. But let's make him wait for it. Let's make him wait like an hour and 10 minutes to get the Cage. And
it's
Mom
only
and
an
Dad
hour and
was
20-minute movie.
Yeah. Mom and Dad was like, Cage is here and he's ready to party from the
first scene.
Yeah, from the rip.
Nick Cage just walked right out of that burning Wicker Man and into Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Because so we've discussed Wicker Man and why that movie doesn't work because Nick Cage thought that it was a send up.
Yeah.
So he got to be Nick Cage. Like he's not a bad actor. He's just a fucking ridiculous person.
Well, and I love I think it was Elric said this on Shockwaves before, but he's like, if you have a director who knows how to utilize Nick Cage, he will be the best actor you've ever seen. But if you have someone who does not know how to rein him in, he can destroy an entire film. And like, I think Mom and Dad is the perfect use of Nick Cage. You're like, we're going super crazy and stupid, so we need a dude who can just turn it up to 1,000 and keep that momentum for 90 minutes.
Yeah. It was actually 80. That movie was only an hour and 20 minutes.
It's like you have two options. You're like, all right, Nicolas Cage, you can be Kanye West in the studio, or you can be Kanye West on Twitter. And I don't care which one, because he's going to go with Twitter every time. He's going to. So you have to say, we need you to be Kanye in the studio.
I need my Nicolas Cage to be Kanye West sitting
in the Oval Office.
No, well, yeah, that too. But Kanye West, my favorite Kanye West story, I quote it all the fucking time. It's actually a Dave Chappelle story, but I don't care. Kanye West was a musical guest on Dave Chappelle's show, and he was sitting in the editing studio talking with Dave Chappelle, watching them edit the episode, and his phone rang, and he goes, I can only hear the one end of the phone call, but he said, yo, can't talk, watching Chappelle's show get edited. He goes, and there's a long pause on the call, and then he just goes, because my life's dope and I do dope shit. That's why. Yeah. And then like, you should try to live every day of your life with that thought process.
Yeah.
But yeah, holy shit, Mom and Dad, what a movie. What an experience. I watched that my last night in Florida with Brian. Just him, Jade, and I on the couch, just loving every second of it.
Yep. Paid $1 per person and it was worth it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It was $3 to rent. And I said, I'll cover this tab, guys.
Which was great because he had warned me early on, yo, man, money's tight. You got to pay for yourself this week. But I said, I'll treat you. I'll treat you to some Mom and Dad.
Yeah. I'm a good guy.
So here's a bold horror statement. Mom and Dad is my number one of the year.
Wow.
Really?
It
really
knocks, it just slightly edges out You Might Be the Killer. And here's why. Because You Might Be the Killer is never horrific to me. It's just a good time, right? Mom and Dad.
A good time while being really uncomfortable at points.
Yeah, no, like Mom and Dad, there's this one scene, and this is going to get a little personal. Sorry, everyone listening, right. And sorry if my dad hears this, but I don't think my dad knows how to get to podcasts, so I think we're safe. So my dad and I have had a really rocky year, and it's all due to politics. So watching Mom and Dad, I'm having a fucking blast until we get to the scene where they're at the school. And all the teachers are trying to keep the kids back. And all the parents are like, come to me, son and daughter, whatever. And then the killing starts. And everybody goes fucking wild, running through the parking lot and the
football
field. And there's this one part where this kid goes, it's a boy, and he goes, "Dad," and the dad just looks at him with so much hatred, and then he murders his own son, and that was horrifying to me. And that is what nudged You Might Be the Killer out of the number one spot, because Mom and Dad is fun, funny, gory as fuck, over the top. It has a good budget, and it actually made me scared, like not scared, but it gave me that dread and that horror. So, and it also is introspective, where the parents are like, where the fuck did my childhood go? Because I feel that. I'm 36 and I don't have kids, but like, I feel that. And I think that that's anybody who's an adult can look back at a teenager and be like, I still feel like that person, but I'm in this body that's alien to me. And I think that movie is just, it's a 10 out of 10 for me.
All right.
Wow.
It's
nice.
An 11 out of 10 for me. It's a Nick Cage out of 10 for me.
So let me ask one quick question, because we are running really long on this.
And that's fine.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. Horror or not, do you know what your number one of the year was?
Oh, I don't.
Okay.
Right, I don't. It could be Hereditary. It could be 8th Grade.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably between one of those two.
Matt, you tell me what your top 5 are that are not necessarily a horror, and
I don't have
it might
them.
jog my memory.
So I think my top 5.
It doesn't need to be 1 through 5. Just tell me what your
I think my top 5 are probably going to end up being You Might Be the Killer's in there. The one thing I'm confident is my number one is the Won't You Be My Neighbor documentary. I think that
oh yeah,
I've watched that so many times. It's hit the same emotional chord every single time that I've watched it. Stupid Futile Gesture, early in this year, a lot of people probably forgot that it even came out. Brian recommended it to me on like one of the first episodes that he was ever on. That was another one that I watched 2 or 3 times, and it worked for me every single time. The Disney fan of me thought that the new Wreck-It Ralph movie, I know a lot of people were shitting on it. I thought the new Wreck-It Ralph movie was amazingly heartfelt. It touched a lot of heavy topics in that way that Disney is really good at doing, where there's the whole movie can be summed up in one quote, which is a character says to another character, "Just because you're best friends doesn't mean that both of your dreams have to be the same." And like, that's the whole emotional background of that story, is when your best friend doesn't want to do the same things that you want to do. And like, that's okay. Like, you don't have to go on the exact same journey with them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's a thing that I'm still trying to deal with in my 30s. The idea that like, maybe the people who are my best friends, I don't have as much in common with. I don't have as much drive as they do for certain things. And like, that's totally fine. Like, that doesn't make them worse of a person. And it doesn't make me a dick for wanting to like travel and do more. And I think those are like the 4 big ones, really. I'm sure I'm blanking out on something else that I adored, that because I saw a lot of fucking movies this year.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Well, I'm still sticking with Mom and Dad then, because like, it's just it's the movie that I think back most fondly on, you know, like it was the best ride.
Yeah. Oh, and Love Simon. That one I want to throw in there too, because that movie was all of the like 90s teen flick feels that I wanted, with like an actual genuine important message to say. So Love Simon is pretty high up there too. But all right, so that was probably the longest thing we'll ever put on this feed.
Yeah.
Of us talking about our favorites of 2018. We're about to kick off 2019 in just a couple days. One of us is very excited for what we're about to talk about. One of us is in the dead center, and one of us, unless they had a change of heart, hated it. So tune in and see what your boys all thought of what you guys voted for, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.